Good morning and welcome to Maryland Today. My name is Jeff St. Pierre, and joining me this morning is Nina Heck, the Director of Counseling and Client Services at Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Maryland and Delaware. Nina, pleasure to have you back.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Well, people aren't spending quite as much on holiday items this season as they have in recent years. I remember seeing the numbers from Black Friday weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, and spending was a little bit down compared to what they were expecting. With that said, though, over half of us are still in stores or online over that weekend and still making some purchases. Why do you think so many people of us still, equate spending with giving this time of year?
So my belief is that the holiday is tied with an emotion, and therefore we have this need to give to as many people as possible. One of the things that I find is that it's a toss between giving and a little bit of guilt for people. Maybe we thought all year long we were going to do something for them, we didn't. So now it's kind of piled up, and we have this last desperate time to try to do just that.
Yeah.
And then one of the other things is, consider usually by Halloween, the malls are already decorated for Christmas. The TV ads start running. And so by this time, we're 2 weeks away from Christmas. Everybody's kind of in a frenzy just trying to make sure that, have I got everything? Do I still got to get out there and spend some more? Surely I haven't spent enough.
Mm-hmm. Well, I understand that guilt thing because I do have a coworker of mine who just dropped off some strawberries and pound cake recently. And now I feel bad because I didn't have anything for her. But I keep telling her I want to focus on the meaning of the holiday this year and not go into debt over it. So what's the first step to creating a less is more holiday?
So, as I just said, Christmas is 2 weeks away. So this is a time where you really want to make sure you have your finances in order, and you obviously need to have your list in order as well.
Sure. Check it twice, maybe.
Check it 4 or 5 times. And, one of the things that's really important is to get the family together, determine what those lists are going to be, because right now you're looking at maybe last-minute decorations, you're looking at food preparations for gatherings that you're going to either have host yourself or be attending, gifts that still need to be bought. So you want to bring the family in because you want everybody's input as to what their idea of gift giving is at this time, or what their perception of what they want to give is.
So how can having a financial plan sort of help us accomplish this?
Well, to start, given that we have previously spoke about having this list, so we know what we know what our wants are. This is a time where we want to put our figures down and take a look at how much money is available to purchase those wants.
Sure.
And one of the things that's really important is to make sure that the want is something that everybody agrees on, and it's more of a need than a want. It's something that everybody believes that we need to do. So you want to start by making sure that you have a budget in place and you have the means to pay for what's ahead.
Whenever you come by, and we do often talk about budgeting. That is a very big topic for us, no matter what the general topic is that you're here to discuss. From a planning perspective, what should listeners do now to make sure they can stay on financial track during the holidays?
So for many of us, I'm going to hope that through the course of last year, we already had maybe a Christmas club in place, or possibly we started with our plans with layaways. And so we had our list already targeted. We had the items put away, and we're probably on the downside of being able to just pick those up next week. But for those of us who are procrastinators and we don't have a budget,
my hand's in the air. Don't feel bad.
This is going to be the time where it's never too late. I always tell people, I just spoke to someone at an event this past weekend who said, I don't have a budget. Things are crazy. I don't even know what I'm doing. So you need to start. You need to list your household expenses, know what your income is. Take a look at, things that's in your budget. Are they, again, things that you need, or are they just things that you want? Because we're going to have additional spending this month, and we need to make sure that we know where that money's coming from. And that, by the way, is something that our counselors at Consumer Credit Counseling can help with as well. Oftentimes people call us with just that need. They just need help setting up a budget.
Well, since you mentioned it, why don't we talk about that contact information really quick here? How can people get in touch with the counselors at Consumer Credit Counseling Services?
They can reach us by telephone at 1-800-642-2227. Our website is cccs-inc.org. We have a lot of different tools and calculators online and different e-learning courses. There's things available for them to help them put this budget together.
Okay, Nina, when it comes to holiday spending, gifts are definitely one of the biggest sources of temptation for most of us. What advice do you have to help us stay guilt-free and on this budget?
So again, we're talking about that list, and we want to make sure that what our plan is for purchasing for people. Is it something that person really needs? or is it just something that we feel we need to purchase for them? I always ask people, when you're buying for someone, there's probably a lot of heart that goes into that.
Sure.
And given that, you also probably know what makes that person smile. So sometimes things that make you smile are not costly. It can be deeds that you do for them. I have neighbors in my neighborhood that aren't able to shovel when it snows, or they're not able to always carry their groceries in.
Yeah.
So things like that. And kids can do this for people in their neighborhood. They can do it for grandparents. There's a lot of things that can be done as act of kindness, and so that the spending element can be pulled out. But again, you still need to have the budget intact. You need to be working the finances. You need to know how much money is available so that you know that your holiday is going to be successful.
I like this approach. I do like that approach. And I think it would work out great with maybe a neighbor or somebody at work per se. But when it comes to things at the home and with immediate family, there seems to be a little bit more pressure on buying gifts and spending money on people. So how can we work with our family members to create a unique, meaning over money celebration this season?
So one of the things that we do in our family is we draw names because we have some extended family out, and I'm the one who usually hosts the Christmas party.
Okay.
So rather than everybody coming and feeling guilty, I didn't realize she was going to show up or he was going to show up, we know who's going to be there. We put all the names in a hat and we draw names. And then that takes the pressure off of people feeling, did I bring enough? Did I buy enough?
Sure.
One of the other things that I've always offered to the family is bring a dish that everybody can share. So again, it doesn't always have to be monetary spending in the form of a gift, just thoughtfulness with a dish that can be shared. We also talk about just looking at things that people have been given previously, having kind of an exchange, or bring the gifts that people didn't want from before, or maybe they've already received from different parties they've been in, have a regifting party. And, so things like that can be done as well. And you can make more fun out of it and more meaning to it.
Another place, Nina, that I feel like there's a lot of pressure is when it involves kids, because it's not just pressure from within the family, but it's also pressure from kids at school, their peers who may be saying like, oh, what are you asking for the holiday? What did you get? Things like that. How can you deal with kids in this situation?
So I think one of the elements that's so important, Jeff, is again, emotion. There's a lot of emotion tied to spending and what I need to do, or can I keep up with the Joneses, so to speak.
Yeah.
Children start with the advertisements, obviously being on television, way ahead. So they've made a list. They've changed it 100 times because something new's come out and it's bigger and better, and now they really need that. So oftentimes I suggest parents really think about what their children have talked about through the year. Not this last-minute advertisement that just came out that now I have to have this, which is probably going to be an item that's going to be very hard to find. Think about things that your children have discussed through the year that they would really like to have. And again, it may not always be something you have to go purchase. It may have been some place they really wanted to go that you can go as a family that's not as costly. There's a lot of different ways that you can bring your children in or rally them around the idea of the holidays, maybe by working in the soup kitchen. Different organizations give out food to families in need. You can volunteer to be one of those families that takes the food to the persons that are signed up. Adopt a family. The other thing I always stress with this as well, when given that things are expensive, think about the fact that if you aren't prepared for Christmas, maybe you need to be one of those people on the list in order to make your holiday good and special rather for your children.
Sure. I know something that you mentioned earlier in this interview was the term layaway. And that's a term that kind of went away for a while, but seems to have started to come back in the last couple of years, really since the recession came back in here. Let's talk a little bit more about that. It has become more popular, but I've heard of situations where people who used it can end up in trouble as well. What do people listening right now need to know about that?
You really need to make sure that you understand what the store policies are. Oftentimes, there might be a fee for setting it up, and then the expectation, according to the policy, is that you pay a certain percentage of money each month or at a scheduled time until you're ready to pick the item up. Given our economy and things that's happened in the past, if you suddenly find yourself unemployed or something happens, medical illness, and you're not able to complete that, that's where you want to know what these policies read.
Sure.
So that if you aren't able to go ahead and complete this, you know what's going to happen. Can I get my money back? Is there a fee for not being able to continue the process? So you just need to know what you're getting into. But it is a really good process if started early and thought out.
Sure. Another term that pops up once in a while when you and I are chatting is the term payday loan. Is that a good option to use during the holiday season if you really want to give your family, friends, or whoever a good holiday?
I would strongly suggest that people not utilize payday
Stay away
loans.
from those, huh?
Exactly. In Maryland, they have to be licensed, and you're looking at an interest rate at around 33%, and there's nothing pretty about 33 or 30% or higher on anything. This is not an option you want to utilize. I would rather see you, again, work your budget, know what income you have available. If necessary, take into consideration things that you can do, volunteering or making gifts or doing things for the person that are more beneficial than putting yourself into a debt that you're going to regret come January when you try to pay these back. And we counsel an awful lot of people that are subject to payday loans and just realize that they can't see an end.
Yeah.
And it just continues. And they'll call us because they have one or two of them, and maybe two leads to a third because they can't. They're actually using payday loans to pay payday loans.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's really not a good way to go.
Before we move on, Nina, why don't you give me that contact information one more time here?
You can reach us at 1-800-642-2227, and our web address is cccs-inc.org.
All right, so you've tightened up the shopping list. You're keeping track of what you want to do this holiday season, but then you find yourself making a trip to the mall to pick up a couple of items. How can you keep a meaning over money holiday when you're out there trying to shop and pick up these things?
So the mall can lead to craziness.
Yeah, that is true.
So
I was there on Black Friday.
So what I always suggest to people is have your list, know where you're going to shop, utilize outlet stores, utilize discount stores, first before you head into the mall, because you may be able to find just as good of a deal at an outlet or a bargain store rather than getting into the mall and purchasing it. But really the key to this is staying on track with your list, because obviously you get in there, you start seeing things that you really wanted all year long. There's a lot of, again, emotion. You're in there. There's a lot of things. There's, it's easy to get off track with your list, but you really just have to stay focused and know what your money is.
Well, I know a lot of people do online shopping. In fact, the Cyber Monday set a new record this year for biggest spending day ever in history. So what are some things that we need to know if we're going to be shopping online?
Well, one of the things that I would always suggest is make sure that you're on a secure site, and that's by making sure that you have the HTTP in the web address, and as well looking for the secured lock pad on the page so that you know that your information is secure. Also, just make sure that you're not going into sites that pop up on your email address.
Sure.
You need to look at sites that you are comfortable with and you've utilized before. And then again, you want to make sure that you have a list, because you can get caught up into, sitting in front of a computer, purchasing things, and get off track of what your intention was when you set out to shop online. So you want to make sure that you stay on target with your list and you're shopping for the things that you set out to get.
Well, Nina, I know we're running low on time here, but a big topic has been data breaches. We heard of many different stores that have had hackers come in and take information off the computer systems. How can we protect ourselves this holiday season when we're shopping at a store or online?
So one of the things that I would always suggest, especially for ladies, is not to carry maybe the normal purse that they would carry throughout the year. Downsize. Only carry with you the information or the credit that you're going to be using. You don't need your Social Security card. You don't need to have maybe a lot of different cards when you know for a fact you're not going to those particular stores. So keep with you only what you know you're going to use. And also, one of the things that I see when I am out shopping would be elderly people tend to take their cards out early and hold them in their hands. And this is something where with the amount of people with cell phones that have cameras, you don't want to have these credit cards just laying in your hands or sitting up on the counter while you're looking for something else. So you want to make sure that you protect your account numbers. You safeguard them from anybody seeing them visually. And again, with the online shopping, you just want to make sure that you're on sites that you know are reputable so that you don't end up with something you regret as a person gets a hold of your information as well that way.
Sure. Well, Nina, before we wrap things up here, any parting advice that you have for people?
I would also suggest getting back to the breaches as well. Make sure you're looking at your credit card statements. One of the other things that you can do with the amount of fraudulent use these days is pull your credit report. So you can pull a credit report from annualcreditreport.com. And what you're doing is making sure that everything that's on there is accurate and correct, and it's not information where somebody maybe has gotten a hold of your information and is actively using it at this time. So you want to do those check your credit card statements. Again, make sure that, if you're having trouble and you're not sure what to do, you can reach out to an organization such as ours. We have certified counselors that are able to go through and do budget counseling with you. This is all confidential. It's just you and us working together to try to establish a good money management plan and make sure that we keep you within your reins for the holiday.
Well, Nina Heck, can you give us that contact info one more time for CCCS?
Sure, Jeff. It's 1-800-642-2227, and our website is cccs-inc.org.
Nina Heck, Director of Counseling and Client Services at Consumer Credit Counseling Services of Maryland and Delaware. Thank you so much for coming by. Lots of wonderful information. As always, I appreciate it and hope you have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you. You too.